Okay, welcome back. We're having a conversation with Aaron Loraas of Lorass Disposal. Aaron, what are the aspects of leadership that you enjoy the most?
I like building. I'm a builder. Our organization, obviously it's very well established, and it was when I came on the scene, but being able to shape it into something more, and as changes and the environment changes around us, being able to adapt to that and build onto the organization to adapt to that, for me that's really exciting. And within that building, we're building a team. We're not just building, we're not building assets, we're building people, because that's really, you can have all the assets you want, but if you don't have the people to do the job, then you're not very much. And so I enjoy putting people in place that will complement the skills of the rest of the group and seeing where that goes.
So if you look at some of the really successful companies in the world today, it's the common denominator is their people, and it really gives them a competitive advantage. So you look at companies like WestJet, Southwest Airlines. How do you feel about, the whole aspect of having your people as a competitive advantage?
That is our only competitive advantage. In our organization, in our market that we serve, our competitors are not much different than we are. They have the same type of collection equipment. The containers look relatively the same. The only difference between us and them is our people. And we know that, and if we don't look after our people properly and motivate them to go in the direction that the organization wants to go, we're no different than our competitors, and we don't have a value advantage then. And so for us, our people are everything.
What are some of the challenges that you face as a leader?
Motivating my people, communicating to them the direction that we need to go and why. If someone understands where we're going and why we're going there, you have a lot better chance that they'll come on board with you and row in the same direction. So I think those are some big things going forward, particularly in Saskatchewan, where the labor market is getting very competitive and has been for a number of years. Likely we don't see that changing in the near future based on the economic activity that they say is going to come. So I think keeping good people and bringing good new people in that complement the rest of the group is going to be key for success in any business today.
You're also president of the North Saskatoon Business Association. So is it a different leadership role for you there versus the one that you have at Lorass, or are they similar or the same?
In a lot of ways they're similar. They're different organizations, but they're organizations with vision, with a purpose, and it's all about ensuring that vision is carried out. And so you certainly have the dynamics are different, but in a lot of ways it's very similar. And I've been very fortunate to be involved with the NSBA for over 5 years, and it's been a great learning experience for me. I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned a lot about how to work with other people, and I've been around a fantastic group there, and it's been a very, very rewarding experience.
So what are some of the leadership lessons that you've learned from the NSBA?
A lot of the same things that I've talked about today. Perseverance would be another one. You see a lot of people that have persevered through a lot of difficult times, and so you can draw off of that, and just even if not to help motivate yourself to carry on with whatever you're working with. And so I think that's a real big thing. And I wouldn't say it's anything specific, but just to be around some really good leaders, specifically some ones that have some more experience than I do, has been invaluable for me. I've really, it's like learning by osmosis sometimes. You just get a feel for what they're about and what they're doing.
It might be argued that that the employees you have at Lorass, they've got to respond to you because you're the boss, you're the leader. But at the North Saskatoon Business Association, these people don't report to you. They're members by choice, and if they don't agree with your direction, they can either opt in or opt out. So how do you lead people that are not employees and they don't have a commitment to you in terms of a paycheck?
Well, at some point, if they don't want to go along with you, they won't. And so we really work on the philosophy that the people that are the most difficult, that don't want to move along with you, at some point you have to say, let's focus on the ones that do want to work with us and want to move the organization forward, whether it's the NSBA or Lorass Disposal. But you're certainly right, it's very different as a membership, and I think it's much less of a dictatorship because those members are there by choice. And even within the board itself, in any board, oftentimes we're there as volunteers. And so you do have to treat it a little bit different. It's a little bit more of a committee, a little more, I don't want to say bureaucratic, but maybe more democratic. And so that's been an adjustment for me. You have to just, you got to wear certain stripes depending on where you're going to be that given day.
Okay. Is there such a thing as a perfect leadership style?
Absolutely not. Every leadership style is different. It depends on the person. It depends on the environment that you find yourself in. And I think even within each person, you have to adjust given what you're doing at that given moment. To say that this is my style and this is how I'm going to do it today, tomorrow, and the next day, I really don't. I don't practice that. And I think there was times where I was taught that in school. If you have this problem, you use this principle and you just move forward, and the answer will be given to you. And that's really not the case. We have to be very dynamic in how we deal with problems at any given time.
Mm-hmm. So leadership is situational. So we have to adapt our style to fit the situation and the circumstances and the people that we're dealing with.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the best leadership lesson that you've ever learned?
Well, there's a lot. I've learned, as I said, a lot about perseverance and not giving up. Certainly with some of the stuff that Lorass has been dealing with lately with recycling in Saskatoon, that was certainly a big lesson for me. Is leaders, when the going gets tough, the tough get going, and you can see that with a number of sports leaders, with a number of political leaders. One of my favorite leaders of the past is JFK, which is funny because he just celebrated his 50th, or not celebrated, but the 50th anniversary of his death, and he faced a lot of difficult times, including the Cuban Missile Crisis, and that's a time when you really have to step up. All the other times are important, but it's those really difficult times. That's when you really your leadership values and your style is tested. And so I think that for me, those are some of the lessons that I've learned. During some of those really difficult times, you really learn a lot about yourself and how you respond to situations. And I think that's the best thing for me.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes it can be really hard. You have a conviction, and to stick to your guns on that conviction, because there's going to be lots of critics. There's going to be people out in the stand, so to speak, and saying, why did you do that? That's wrong. I wouldn't do this. So how do you stick to your guns when you have a conviction and you're convinced that that's the right way to go?
Well, there's a couple of items. There's first of all, you have to have strong values. You have to know why you're doing something, and even before that, you have to know where you've come from and where you're going and why you're going to do that. And I think that's a big item. But the other thing is that you've got your intuition. And I always say to young people who are coming up in leadership roles is get your skills, get some knowledge, get some experience, and learn, and all of those things will help with your intuition as a leader, so that when it comes down to difficult times and people are saying one thing and your intuition is saying another, that you are confident enough in that intuition that you can make that judgment call and feel that it's the right one. So I think that's a really big thing.
Okay. If we're going to look back, I know you mentioned JFK. Were there any other leaders that you really admire, past or present, that might have been a role model for you?
Certainly, I certainly admire the Premier of our province right now, Premier Brad Wall. He has a lot of values that he holds true. He sticks to his guns, and he has a positive attitude towards the province. And that as a leader, you need to have that. He brings the rest of the province along with him in a positive way, and I think that's really important. Another one, of course, is Wayne Gretzky, and as odd as that sounds in the sports area, he left on a high note. He always did what he said he was going to do, and he did it with honor and integrity, and I really value those things.
Great. There's an old saying that leaders are born, they're not made. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think that's going to hold true in any number of situations, but I don't think always. Everybody has a different culture that they come from, and your culture shapes you, and you could say, well, this person came from this role, they're not really born a leader. And no, I think it's all about what you want to make it. Life is about what you want to make it, and if you want to step up and do something big and lead, I think everyone has a little bit of that in them.
So on that note, do you think somebody needs to be a CEO or the head of an organization to be a leader?
No, and we talk about that in our organization all the time. We have leaders who are drivers, and who lead the way for their peers insofar as organizing their routes or doing things that are just a little head and shoulders above the rest, and to show the rest of the group how it has to be done. And so it doesn't matter what position you're in, you can take a leadership role with whatever you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was interesting. I had a conversation with a deputy fire chief in Toronto, and he was saying that you always lead from your level.
Absolutely, I would agree with that.
Yeah, so you always lead from your level. So if somebody new was coming along and they said, I wanted to get into a leadership role, what would be 3 or 4 key things that you would tell them to do, or advice or recommendations that you would give them?
I would tell them to do things that would give them self-confidence, because you need self-confidence as a leader, and you have to protrude that to other people. If people don't see you as a leader or as a confident person in whatever you're doing, whether it's your personal life or in your career, they're not likely to follow you. And so that's a really big thing. Also, get experience. Get experience in whatever your career is. Try some things. Don't be afraid to make a mistake, because that's what will teach you going forward. And so those are some big things that will lead you to be a better leader.
What's next for you as a leader? What's next step would you like to take?
Well, it's been a pretty interesting few years, whether it be with the roles outside of Lorass Disposal, like the NSBA and some of the other organizations that I've been involved with, or within Lorass. We've had a significant amount of growth within Lorass in Saskatoon and surrounding areas, as well as bringing on new services like single stream recycling in Saskatoon and area. So it's been a bit of a busy time, but our industry, waste and recycling, is an ever-changing one, and it really changes very fast. So we've got a few things that we're working hard on, to new services to bring to this market and to some of the other markets in Saskatchewan. So I'd say to stay tuned, because there'll be some more new and exciting things coming forward. We never stop.
Mm-hmm. Look forward to hearing it.
Thank you.
So one last question for you. What do you do to stay current as a leader?
You know, this is going to sound funny coming from someone of my generation, but I read the newspaper every morning, the paper version of it, not electronic, and I feel that's an important way to stay in touch. So for me, that's a really big thing. But surrounding myself with other leaders, whether it's peers or people that I have a lot of respect for, I think that's really key, because that motivates me. We motivate each other, and we learn from each other, and I think that's really important. So that's one big thing. But also education. When you finish your school, you think, okay, I'm done now, and I don't have to go back, and that's just not the case. We need to keep challenging ourselves as human beings, and a lot of that comes through education. So
that's a very old model. People say, well, I'm done school, I don't have to do anything anymore. Mm-hmm. And my personal philosophy is, if you've taken that attitude, you're falling behind.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, because like anything in any organization or any industry, or as people, if we're not moving, we're dying. And so you're either growing or moving forward, or you're going backwards in a real hurry. And so that's something we need to keep in mind.
And leadership is all about growth.
It is, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Aaron, thank you very much. Very interesting session with you. I really appreciate your feedback.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Our guest was Aaron Loraas, Vice President of Operations for Saskatoon, Lorass Disposal. Thank you for joining us today on The Leading Edge, Conversations with Saskatoon's Leaders. I hope you found today's show thought-provoking, interesting, and motivating. If you have any questions or comments about the show, you can contact me by email at dave@highperformancehr.ca. I'd love to hear from you. I'd like to close with this quote on leadership. Until the next time, safe journeys.